Tonight, when something breaks your heart, you'll cry. A tear will form. It will build at the corner of your eye. Then it will fall down your cheek, slow and warm, and you won't think about why. But on Mars, that same tear would never fall. It would just sit there, stuck to your eye, growing wider until it fully covers your vision, and you still wouldn't feel it fall. Why would something so simple change so completely? Gravity is where it starts. Earth pulls at roughly 9.8 meters per second squared. That force drags a tear downward the moment it forms. Mars has only about 38% of that pull. Your tear would still move, just far slower and far less predictably. Astronauts already know a version of this. In microgravity aboard the International Space Station, tears don't fall at all. Chris Hadfield, the Canadian astronaut, once described trying to cry on purpose for a NASA study. The tear built into a stinging ball of salt water stuck to his eye until he wiped it away. Mars isn't zero gravity, but it's weak enough that a reflex you've never had to think about simply stops working the way it always has. And gravity is only half the problem. Inside a spacesuit helmet, humidity has nowhere to go. Sweat, breath, tears, all trapped in a sealed bubble around your face. NASA Human Research Program has studied exactly this because a fogged visor isn't just uncomfortable. In an atmosphere almost entirely carbon dioxide and 100 times thinner than Earth's, you can't just wipe your visor clean. You're sealed in a suit you can't open until you're back inside. So an emotional reflex most people never question becomes an engineering hazard. Which raises a stranger question. Would you even want to cry there? In the HIC's habitat in Hawaii, run through the University of Hawaii with NASA funding, crews lived for months simulating the isolation of deep space. No sunset walk to clear your head. No spontaneous hug. Just the same walls day after day. The European Space Agency ran something similar, called Mars 500, sealing volunteers inside a mock spacecraft for 520 days. Researchers tracked mood and stress hormones the whole time. What they found wasn't dramatic breakdowns. It was something quieter. A slow flattening of emotion. Crews pulled inward because there was nowhere private to fall apart. That's the twist most people don't expect. You'd think Mars would be an emotional pressure cooker. And yet the real risk isn't too much crying. It's too little. Suppressed emotion, held in for months, has been linked in NASA-funded isolation studies to slower recovery from conflict and higher long-term stress. Your tears aren't just plumbing. They're a release valve. Crying has been shown to lower cortisol afterward, like a pressure release for your nervous system. Take that valve away and the pressure doesn't disappear. It just gets stored somewhere else. So mission planners now think about crying the way they think about oxygen and radiation shielding. As infrastructure. That's part of why Mars habitat concepts, including work tied to NASA Moon to Mars architecture studies, increasingly call for small private quarters instead of open bunks. A door you can close. A few square feet where no one sees your face crumble. On a planet where every liter and watt is rationed, privacy still earns its place in the blueprint. Even the Perseverance rover, crawling across Jezero crater for years, exists partly to answer a related question. If Mars once had liquid water and warmth, then the planet you'd be crying on wasn't always this hostile. It became this way. Radiation stripped its atmosphere. Its core cooled. Whatever chance it had at life slowly closed, atom by atom. You'd be crying on the ruins of a world that used to work. So tonight, when a tear finally falls down your cheek, notice it. Notice how easily it moves. How gravity does the work without asking. How the air lets it evaporate before it even reaches your jaw. On Mars, that same moment would ask so much more of you. A private room to retreat to. A visor you'd need to keep clear. A body relearning one of its oldest reflexes on a world that no longer remembers what water was for. You're not just crying tonight. You're using infrastructure Earth built for you 4.5 billion years ago, one you'll never have to think about again until the day you leave it behind.